Going in deep actually for this object-oriented concept, and today we are required to manipulate the context of here are some of the features of the OOP. Mainly we'll be using the classes to accomplish all the tasks. We'll be solving two tasks mainly. Task number one is asking us to manipulate an object, which is a circle, by controlling its center, displaying the center point, coordinates. Using different methodologies, we'll be using a dedicated method, function, procedure. Plus, more than that, we'll be utilizing the copy constructor to accomplish the task. The copy constructor is one of the OOP features via which we may use a duplicated value from an original constructor available to achieve the result. Let's dig in and we will see the solution step by step together. To do so, I'm going to refer to our online C++ compiler. Good. I believe you are able to see the screen. And in here, immediately, I'm going to start by adding a small command to facilitate the understanding of the solution requirement here. Let's say copy constructor to let's say create the circle center point. Okay, good. This is the main purpose. Okay, let's do so. Since we are talking about, listen carefully, please. The use of a constructor generally, for sure, it's a trivial consequence. We are going to use a class to do so. We are not going to use a constructor by itself. So the constructor is something related for sure to a class. Thus, this is the class. And since the class is talking about, actually, I believe the question had asked us clearly. No, it did not ask any specific name. So I'm going to use the circle center as a name for the constructor, sorry, for the class. And this is the class actually body. I'm going to use this delimit. I'm going to add a semicolon from the beginning to avoid any errors. So the end of the class. And let's start. Actually, the circle mainly here we are going to manipulate two coordinates, the x and the y, the positions of the circle. We are going to give, for example, an int position x and an int position y. Simple. Semicolon and a semicolon. Terminated. Finished. That's it. Those two variables will be required to initialize them. I'm going to declare a method, set, let's say, xy, something like that. And this method, actually, it has a scope. I'm going to define it here. Straightforward. It's in line 1. So I'm going to define inside the class this first method here. I'm going to give any values to the x and y. The x, which is available here inside the class, would have a value. The y have sorry for the interruption. I'm in the office only, so I come back. I said, and the y I'm going to give actually an initial value, something like that. The values I'm going to give to the x and y, I'm going to pass them as parameters to the set xy. I'm going to say, for example, int a and int b. Simple. So the x would receive the a value, and the b would receive, sorry, the x would receive, the y would receive the b value. Simple, as simple as that. This is a method. This is a method. Thus, it has to have a return data type. I'm going to, for example, say void one. Let's set it to be procedure. Simple. Okay. So let's respect the syntax. So x equal y, x equal a semicolon, y equal b semicolon. So terminated, finished. Good. This is the initialization. Let's bring the output coordinates. What are the coordinates of the circle? Let's bring them in output. So let's define a second procedure, which is the get xy. For example, it's a user-defined name. Remember, here it's a user-defined name. The set xy user-defined. Get xy is user-defined. Good. So here I'm going to say just simple cout less than the circle coordinates. Sorry, coordinates are x and y and end of line. Good. Terminated. Good. Let me change it to small. Good. I may write it differently. Just to write them as real coordinates. Here. Great. Those. Yeah, I added a parenthesis. So we see the output now. We see that. I'll stop at this level here before proceeding in the context of the manipulation of the x and y position coordinates of the circle to see the output first of all and to visualize, and later on we continue. First of all, remember we are inside the class, so thus we have to give a visibility to the variables and the visibility to the methods. This method, first of all, it's a method. It's not a constructor, so we have to give a data type. Again, I'm going to specify that it is procedures of void. Visibility for the variables, both of them. I'm going to give private one, private visibility. For the methods, I'm going to use public visibility. So, done. We are done. Let me pass to the output here. If I execute, nothing is there. Nothing is an empty program, because we do not have any call to the class content. So I'm going to copy the class to create an object. Let's say obj. Then the obj, I'm going to use it to reach what? X and Y. No, they are private. Remember, we cannot reach only the public parts. The set and the get. Obj dot say set xy semicolon and obj dot get xy. Okay, semicolon. Remember, the set xy, it is with two parameters, int a and b, so I have to replace them here with two values, int. So I'm going to say, for example, 1, 5. I need two ints. Let's execute now. The circle coordinates are 1, 5. What is this? The circle coordinates are colon. Here it is. The circle coordinates are parenthesis. This is the parenthesis. X, the first value, which is 1. Here it is. Comma. This is the comma. I think this is the comma. 5, the y, this is the y, and this the y is the second value, the 5. Perfectly set. Perfectly set. Okay, so now we are the right track. We did not make any mistakes so far, so we can continue in this regard. So to do so, our purpose here is to manipulate the use of the constructor, and specifically the copy constructor. What does mean a constructor? See what I'm going to do. Instead of using this here, let's say set x and y and get xy to display, I'm going to use a specific method to call it here to display the result of this, the content of the x and y here. So I'm going to leave this one as such. I'm going to define another one, get here, get x x return let's say return x semicolon. So I'm going to use it as I'm going to use it as a function. So int x and int y. Sorry, get y. So I'm going to get y. Return what? Return the y. Good. Full stop. Full stop. To utilize those two methods, we have more than one option. We have more than one option to utilize those two predefined methods. I'm going to refer to the main. So can we use the x and y inside the main? No, but we can use these get x and get y because they are public. So we can use them both here. So I'm going to say here obj. There is no obj. There is a cout. Remember, it's a function. Cout is circle axis and get x semicolon. There's an end of line. Let's put an end of line. Okay. The same thing for the y. Get y. Circle y is get y. Let's execute. Here comes the errors. Here the errors appear. Okay, great. Let's see what's the first one. Get x was not declared in this scope. Get x was not declared, he's saying. See our circle get x. Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Because this is one of the classes elements. So I have to reach them through the object only, through the object of the class only. So obj.getX, obj.getX, and also obj.getY. Execute again. Great. So circle coordinates are 15. This is the first one from here. And now the circle x is 1. The circle y is 5. We're getting it clearly here. And we are reaching the x and y in the main using the public members, which are the two methods. Get x, get y. I had the output here inside the main. The call was made inside the main. See now how we are going to modify the program in order to reach the use to integrate constructors, and we use the constructors. Now let's see what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do anything here. I'm gonna just come back to the class. Inside the class in the public region, I'll start at the beginning. I'll start at the beginning before setting the x. There's no problem in the order, but I'm gonna start it here to give it priority. I'm going to use I'm going to define a constructor. The constructor properties are attributes, or let's say features are. It has to have the same name as the class, copy. So it has no data type in return, and it is having a role of defining, initializing the state and defining the behavior of the class. To initialize the state means to give values to the x and y. So let me define the constructor with two parameters. Let's say int. Also, let's say y. Z and t. Okay. Then x equals z, y equals t. Semicolon. Good. We initialize the status now. And since the behavior means it is going to give the call to the methods if needed. What I'm going to do here? Yes, I'm going to do, for example, I'm going to call those two methods. Let's just stop here. Let's just call the constructor with those two parameters here, and let's see what would be the difference first of all, and we'll go step by step. To use this constructor, so far if I execute, there will be there is no actually difference here. There is a problem. He's saying in what? Let me see what's the problem first. Circle. No matching function for call to circle. Circle int candidate expects two arguments of private candidate. CPP main. All of them, they are inside the main. All of them, they are inside the main. Okay, good. So here, because we are calling a constructor, and we are defining a constructor with 2 parameters. So to do so, to avoid such a problem, I'm going to say new, I'm going to say equal to new, the same constructor name. I'm going to give actually 2 values, 5 and 9, for example, whatever, because it is having 2 ints. Sorry, not here, 2 ints. So I'm giving 2 ints here. Let's execute. Still, I have an error. Circle pointed to non-scalar variable requested. Let me check what is this context of the scalar representation. What I'm going to do here, yes, good. So here I call the parameters immediately to the object, and here we are having the same output. There is no modification at all so far, because we did not use the values from the constructor. We used the values from the set xy. So those are the ones utilized here, and also for the get x and get y, we use the latest initialization. See, I'm going to call this now. See, the 1 and 5 here. They are coming from here, not from here. To make them appear here, just I'm going to recall the object again with the new values. For example, here I'm going to say 5, 9. Leave them 5, 9 here, for example. Execute. And a second object, I'm going to say here is I'm going to say obj2. Here obj2 also. obj2. Great. Let's execute. Okay, here's 5 and 9. The 5 and 9 from here. If I modify those things here too, for example, 777. Execute. Here they are, 777. So the latest initialized value, a given value, is going to be called here in the x and y methods, get x and get y methods. So in this regard here, we are able to use a simple constructor actually to initialize the status of a class, and also we are able to manipulate the behavior of the class, no more, no less. Let's pass to specify the answer, and let's answer exactly what the question is asking us, which is to use a copy constructor to manipulate or to initialize the circle center point. I'm going to generate a second constructor. I'm going to generate a second constructor, since it is a constructor, so it has to have the same name, class name, no return in type. I'm going to give it actually some method. It has a scope. As a parameters, it has to have 1 parameter for sure. It has to have 1 parameter, but the 1 parameter has to have the data type. The class object means not the regular object. It's a user-defined data type, which is the class-like object. So I'm going to define a parameter that has a data type, the class itself. Any name, I'm going to say CC, for example. Circle center, CC, okay. And this parameter, it is a constant. It is a constant parameter. And I'm going to refer to it as a reference, with a reference. So I'm going to refer to it as a reference to another constructor. The constructor I'm going to define here is a reference to another constructor. That would be here, this one here in this example. Then after here, actually, I'm going to say the values I'm going to give here to the initialization here, the same here, the x and y. The x would receive a value, and the y also would receive a value. What is the value I'm going to receive? It's the value of the x through this CC, and the value of the y through this CC. So here I'm going to type cc.x, and here cc dot y. Remember, this is an object from this constructor. This constructor is a circle, is the class itself. So this object has also x and y. Thus, the x from this object would be given the value to this x, and the y from this object would be given to this y also. Simple as that. Finished. Now the call in the method, in the main method, how to use this copy constructor, how to indicate that we are using it. No more or less, actually, we have the solution even if it's snapped to us in our question paper. It is available there. So here inside the main, I'm going to say here it's a constructor that I'm going to give it the name, for example, obj, for example, 3, that equals this obj here. Semicolon. To make this object 3 works fine, this object here originally it has to work fine, which is the case. It is working very fine. Now let's use this object 3. To use this object 3, I'm going to just copy those two statements here. And I'm going to say obj3 dot x, obj2 dot x, and we will see the output. Obj3. The circle here, I'm going to say 3. The circle here, also I'm going to say 3 to make it different only, to make the difference with those ones here. Let's execute now. Okay, the circle 3x is 5. The circle y, the circle 3y is 9. From where those 5 and 9 are coming from here, and how we reach this one here is through this affectation here. Object 3 equals to object, and here it is, we are using the object 3 only, which is equal to the object that equal the values are 5 and 9, and here they are 5 and 9. This way, clearly we used a copy constructor to manipulate the circuit center. So let's move to the next task, last one in this part. Task number 2. So here I am required to manipulate actually the context of the encapsulation and the abstraction features, or OP features. To demonstrate those two features, we are going to manipulate the profile of a student, the ID, the age, the name. Okay, let's dig in. I'm going to refer to our online constructor. Sorry, our online compiler. Good. So since we are required to manipulate the encapsulation and the abstraction, so for خلاص, the trivial, so we're going to use the class also again here. OP encapsulation and abstraction. Okay. Inside the main. I will not do anything for now. And I'm going to start with the class generation that has all the work needed. std, let's say profile, I'm going to give the name to the class. And I'm going to close the class first of all with a semicolon here to avoid an issue later on. Any issues later on. Okay, I'm going to start by defining the ID and also the age and also the name. Those are the 3 parameters, 3 attributes that define the class status. The ID is, let's say it's an int. The age, let's say it's an int. The name, let's say it's string, something like that. Great. So we are done with the declaration of the class status. Let's pass to the initialization. Let's pass to the initialization. Set, let's say LCD profile. Or let's say set profile. That's it. It's enough. I'm going to define it right here. Whatever. ID equal. Age equal. Name equal. Okay, great. So ID equal what? Age equal what? To make it easy, I'm going to use parameters for this set profile method. So I'm going to say int A, int let's say B. I'm going to say string here S. S, very trivial here. A for the ID, B for the age, and S for the name. Semicolon each. Great. So we are done now with the set profile. Set profile has been terminated to work with the set profile. Any output if we run? No, far we did not finish yet. We cannot run because still we have to specify the visibility for this block and the visibility for this block. Let's do. So for this block here, I'm going to set the visibility to be private. Great. And for this group, I'm going to set the visibility to be public. Great. Let's say group of parameters, or let's say the attributes, we prefer to make them be private, and we reach them through the use of the methods from the same class, from the same scope. Okay, let's just have a look at the output for now, and later on we'll continue. To have a look in the output, actually we have to call them. We did not call so far. So the problem is in the main only, main. So let's just solve that by calling the class name and generating an object from it. Let's say it's SCDP, for example, semicolon. And I'm going to use the SCDP to reach the set profile. We have only the set profile in public, only this one. Okay, semicolon. Remember, the set profile has been generated, defined, given birth with 3 parameters. How you dare to call it without parameters? So thus we replace the parameters with values, real values. The int a for the ID, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's enough. The int age, I'm going to say 10. The string name, double quotation, I'm going to write as names. Okay, that's it. It's very enough. So, and then later on the return. Okay, let's just have a look now to this error now in deep. Of set profile. Okay, set profile with no type of permissive. Okay, just I'm gonna change the name of the set profile. I'm gonna say I'm gonna change to set PFL. avoid any. Yes, here I'm going to refer to the same file also. Let's execute and see what would be the output. Same. Still, let's see the first error. String. Ah, yes, here string. There's a problem here. Typo. Yes, string. Good. Yeah, and now there is another kind of errors. Set PFL A123 is a file-based declaration of set PFL with no type. Yeah, exactly. Here for this is a method. It is not a constructor, so it has to have actually a data type return. I'm gonna say void for now. Procedure to avoid any other complexity. Yes, and that's it. Nothing is there. So far there is nothing because there is no output in in the full program. We need to print an output those coordinates, for example. So far there is no output. There is no C out at all. But no errors also. No errors. So let's continue. Let's continue. So what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna create a constructor. Still, I'm going to create a constructor to initialize the states of the class. Same thing here. So same name. The method the constructor, huh? So simple parentheses, then the curly braces. Inside the curly braces, I'm going to do something similar to this one, which is the ID equal, the age equal, the name equal. Great. I'm going to give parameters here. I'm going to say X, Y, Z. Y and Z. And خلاص, we reached to initialize the status of this method using the constructor, the simple constructor, which is publicly seen. Let's execute. We have an error. He's saying the profile before comma, expected before comma. And the main only, yeah, because here we defined a constructor already with two parameters, so we have to call it here. Otherwise, it will give us such an error. I'm gonna say the ID. I'm gonna say 252525, and the whatever the second one, which is the age. I'm gonna say 15, and then after the name, I'm gonna give, for example, whatever Oman. Execute. Yes, great. STD profile. Let's understand. All the problem is in the constructor only. All the problem is in the constructor only. Let's see what happened. It's the profile X. I'm not able to see any error here actually so far. Error no match and function call to SD profile. Well, int char const 5. STD profile. They miss the name here. Copy. Yes, it's the same. Paste. I want to change this statement here. Sorry, this statement here into a command. To understand more and to see the effect of the constructor. Okay, still he's given the same error. Equals the profile. Yes. Execute. So same position. There's a problem here. SDD profile, no matching function. There is a problem missing here. He's saying that the function is not missing, is not matching. Sorry. Yet it is perfectly matching. So I'll avoid it here. Equal new STD profile. Yes, okay, good. Execute. X. What am I missing here? What am I missing here? Let me just change the thing actually in order to avoid any problem here. Let me just repeat it, whatever. So here inside the main, before token, STD profile, I see. Yes, absolutely. It's an int here, X, subhanallah, int Y, and int Z. So let me just return the thing here in the main. Okay, here. So it's this is type to be mentioned. Okay, let's execute now. Okay, still we have errors, but definitely it's const char stuff from to int. I'm gonna say here single okay. The profile start to non-scalar type. Yeah, okay, no, this way. So here, okay, execute, and that's it. Okay, no output at all. Yes, so far. So I'm gonna call the second one SDDPFL get PFL. Still, there is no errors at all. Let's pass to display. Here we initialized using a constructor and using a method. Let's pass to initialize. So I'm gonna say here, let's say return. I'm gonna use the return here. Oh, no, it's procedure. Much more better. Void. Say get profile. Scope here. Okay, see out. Simple. See out. The student name is name. There is no object here. Only name. ID is ID capital less than age is less than age. Okay, that's it. End of line. End of line. Okay, let's call this get profile here inside the main std dot get profile. Execute. Errors. He's saying the name is not recognized. Age, name again. This dot, I'm gonna say this dot. This dot, and also this dot. Errors. This not X. Execute again. This name, what's the problem with the name? I'm not gonna use alias. What did I do here? Did I stop the sharing? No, I return. Let me execute to make me understand very well what is the error still available here. The age, the name here is saying is underlined in the first variable we are calling. Was not declared in this scope. Yeah, it's not declared in this scope in the public. So I'm going to say here to avoid one of the here. Yeah, exactly here to avoid such a view here. I'm going to modify the private to be public, and we will see. So the visibility now I'm playing on the visibility only. Let's execute. Still, he's saying the same view is not declared in this. Name, it's capital N. ID, I don't know, it's a capital both. Okay. Get set dot std before dot token. Primary expression before dot. SCDP typo. Execute. Get profile. It is PR small. Okay, the student name is S names, I believe. Yes, and ID is 1 2 3 4 6. Age is 10, so it works very fine. It works very fine. So here, S names 10 and 1 2 3 4 5 6. So it's the same. It is getting us the output. It is getting us the output from here. Perfect. It works very fine. So this way, I'm going to return this one to be private, and we'll see private. The same result, same output. So this way, we're able to manipulate the context of the encapsulation, since they are actually the full solution here: declaration, initialization, and even the definition of the behavior. Here, it is inline defined inside the class itself. So we are able to encapsulate all the solution in just one environment. Since we are manipulating the visibility, also we are abstracting the usage to be limited to what the definition says of each access control, the private, the public, and so on. So this way, clearly encapsulation is being set, the abstraction is being also set. I'll submit you the the recording just in a few seconds, just once I receive it. I'll stop the recording here.